Welcome to another episode of the Hospitality Mentor Podcast. And today, got a special guest because this is the first two-time guest here on the show. We've got James Ferguson, Corporate Director of Culture for the Wurzack Hotel Group. James, welcome back, man.
Steve, thanks so much for having me on, man. Second time, man. It feels good. It feels better than the first time, man. But I'm honored to be on here as the first double up. Excited to chop it up with you and get into things.
That's amazing. It's been over 2 years. March 7th, 2022 is when we first recorded. And so, for listeners, if you haven't heard that episode, that is James' whole journey up until where he was at that time. And a lot has changed in the 2 years. And that's why I was excited to have him back on. But why don't you give people just the 30-second, 45-second download of your story before we jump in case they haven't heard that episode?
Sure. So, summarized version. Started in the industry a long time ago at the front desk. Worked my way up quickly. Uh, Worked at a great hotel that we won top workplaces, which ultimately led me to writing my book, the Confetti Culture Playbook. I put all my secrets in there. There it is. uh, about how we won and all the things we did to keep consistent and committed. And then unfortunately, and this is kind of I think the last time we were on here, I found out the good news that I was cancer free.
Yep.
So soon after I wrote my book, everything was kind of forward momentum, excited. I was diagnosed with cancer and had to, go through treatment and things like that. And what once was a tool to celebrate the recognition reward, confetti, ultimately became a symbol of hope for me as I pursued treatment, getting past and beating cancer. So, fortunate enough, I'm still cancer free, but obviously the situation shaped you. So when I came out of that, which is kind of right where this last podcast episode went, I got a job with Wurzack Hotel Group, as you just shared, and started as a GM with them. But ultimately, within like a year, showcased my ability to develop strong company culture within the hotel I was operating that ultimately led to today where I'm the director of culture for the entire company, which is pretty amazing.
So what does that mean? Because a director of culture, not many companies have a director of culture. There's talent development, there's training managers, there's HR leaders, but what is your position?
It's a great question. I truly, as I am honored to be on this episode today, I'm honored to be in this role because you're right. There's a lot of companies that talk a big game with culture, but aren't taking the steps to get that much closer to it. And so, Wurzack Hotels, making those moves to make sure that we have expertise in each vertical can focus on growing those, scaling those as the company grows. So my role is to really support the employee experience from the first day forward. So the entire, obviously operations, I used to be very guest journey focused. Now I'm employee journey focused. So uh, everything from orientation to communication to PR and content marketing to employee engagement and recognition. There's just so many elements to it, and I have my hand in so many amazing things, which has just been again so rewarding. And because this role didn't exist prior, I've had my hands and fingertips all over everything, and it's really allowed me to help shape the culture one day at a time.
So when you got there, you're a general manager, right? And most people who become general manager, they're all right, I'm going to keep moving up. I'm going to go to a bigger hotel, to a bigger place, or I'm going to become a regional guy. I'm going to get up into that corporate level of running things. What was that decision and how did that conversation even come up to take on this type of role?
Yeah, I'd always wanted to be in something like this, but as many know, and like you don't have necessarily the experience going outside of a company and trying to pursue that without having some sort of knowledge of what you're able to do. They're not going to take the risk. They're not going to do it. So by showcasing it as a GM, as an operator, to not only perform well as that operator, as a GM, but also to build a culture and have that seen and felt beyond the building. Uh, it made it an easy case when I shared that there was some transition in the region and in the company. And I basically said, like, this is where I hope to be. Maybe this is something we can talk about now, maybe something down the road, but I want to have the conversation and I'll tell you where I hope to be. And as things progressed, there was a moment in time where I said, I know it doesn't feel like it, but this is the exact moment when we should make this change. I provided my business case, and the conversation started to happen and began to talk about what that would look like. And again, I'm just super grateful for the opportunity to not only have the conversation to be heard, about what my hopes are for my career, but also to be, you know, have them take a risk and then have me prove them right every day after.
Mhm. And so Wurzack Hotel Group is growing. You know, I know that they've got Jake Wurzack, right, is the owner and CEO. Is that who you're talking to help make these decisions, or is it others that you pitched this idea to first?
So initially it was my direct report, which was Ben Croken. He was the VP of Ops for me at the GM. We had some changes in the complex that I was working in, and I basically said like, I don't know if you're considering me or not for that role, but it's not what I want. Here's what I do want. So that allowed him to not think about me in capacity, but to understand for the future what it might look like. And then obviously that conversation got escalated and ultimately got the president Eric Davies into the conversation, which allowed things to just continue to progress and talk about what my vision for it is, what theirs is, and then collaborate in building what it is.
So what does that pitch sound like? Right? If somebody is out there listening like, "Man, that just sounds like a job I want." What was the pitch like to those people?
Well, look, I think the biggest pitch is the quote that I constantly share, and it's my favorite quote, which is, "What you do speaks so loud that I can't hear what you say." And what that means to me as a former GM and it means today is don't tell me, show me. Don't tell me you want to be the director of culture. Don't tell me you want to change the culture. Show me. And so every day you have to work towards that. And that's kind of the spiel that I share with our team, right? If we focus on our mission statement and do that every single day, everything that we hope to accomplish individually as a hotel, as a company will come a direct result. And so, it's easy to say I want this and that, but your attitude, your actions have to be living that out every day for it to actualize. That is really why it happened because I shared my interest, but then I proved why I should every day after.
And I see it, right? You share a lot and you really
I share
live
a lot.
that
Yep.
the confetti culture. And I love that you share because a lot of people are afraid to show because sometimes like, oh, I'm gonna get made fun of, or maybe people don't want to see this. So I like that you're able to. And you see how happy the people are around you, and you see it just in the reviews at your hotels, right? I think just kind of watching, I started watching as you were doing things, and the reviews started changing around the property, and your job openings started to not be as many, right? Am I following this right as an outsider?
Yeah, yeah, and you kind of touched on something that I want to make sure I highlight. A lot of people are afraid to share, whether it's their story, whether it's personal, professional, whatever. Look, I would encourage you to share it because there's whether it's one person or it's 100 people, somebody wants to hear your story, wants to be part of your story, can learn from it, be inspired by it. Uh, and there's just so much value in today's social market that you can share those things and add value to people you don't even. Uh, and I can say that truly, like there's people that come up to me and are like, "Oh my god, like all these things you're doing, you're helping me so much, thinking of new ideas or whatever." And I'm like, I didn't even know that I like reached you. Uh, But on the flip side of that, if you're working for a company like this, and you want to help build it for what it can be, it's only going to add value to both sides, right? It's going to build their brand and build yours. So anybody that's hesitant to maybe go in one direction or the other, it's just going to support itself, right? It's going to give the company the leverage to have people gain interest and excitement and want to be part of it. And then it's also building credibility on other side, right? It's allowing me to showcase what I'm able to do for them with them as well. So, yeah, I'm very, very excited about the momentum we're seeing. And to the point, it's hitting our Glassdoor scores, it's hitting our TripAdvisor scores, our turnover rate. Everything is being impacted. That doesn't happen overnight, but with time, the compound effect, it always delivers.
Like we talked about earlier, you wrote this book, The Confetti Culture Playbook. And if you're not watching on YouTube and you're listening to your car, I'm holding up the book and you can get it on Amazon and I'm on your website as well. I know you've got it there. But this, you built a playbook for people of how to really impact and contribute to their company and not just hotels, but this is for any company. So were you going in and using your own plays and giving this book out to your team, or how did you start to really make an impact? Because you do lay out a lot of things in here.
I do. And yeah, that book is kind of like beginning of this, the framework that allowed me to win top workplaces. But I think the great thing is when I came into that GM role with Wurzack after, going through treatment, I kind of like took what I knew and tried to make it even better. So coming back to being a GM in capacity, like I was just looking for new ways. And I think that's the key too. Like I'm constantly learning, like all the time. You probably notice on social media, showing a book that I read once a month to just continue to, you know,
Mhm.
enhance my experience and my expertise. So, but yeah, it's definitely implementation of things that I've done in the past, but it's also understanding that I don't know everything, that I do need to learn more, and finding the people that do it better and taking it and making it my own.
So if you were going into a hotel, right, you're not at Wurzack, but you've got someone listening to right now that is maybe has a company that's struggling a little bit on culture. What are, like, maybe the top 3 things you're gonna look for when you get in there that's, like, low-hanging fruit?
Well, if you want your team to be engaged, you got to be engaged. So I would say, actively showing around on, sorry,
It's alright. We're loud. James is working, guys. He is a man of action and is in a hospitality location. So if you
sure
hear
am.
some background noise, don't worry. This is what we
My
do here.
apologies for that interruption, Wes. So, um, yeah. So again, walking around, walkabouts daily, right? Like checking in on their team. Uh, the biggest message that I continually convey, the simplest thing that everyone can do, it costs little to no money, can be done right this second, is to seek the good and celebrate it. Right. So often as leaders, we focus on all the problems and challenges that we see every single day. But if we find and focus on solutions, then we're going to find a lot more to celebrate. And so those walkabouts daily, engaging with your team, talking about what they did this weekend, but also what they're doing great around the hotel, those things make a huge difference. The other thing that I would share, and I'm actually having a free master class coming up next week. Don't know when this will drop, so it'll probably be too late. But nonetheless, it is about huddle. Uh, Stand up, as many call it, but huddle, as I call it, is probably the most important element to a strong company culture. And the reason is because it allows you to communicate, collaborate, create cohesiveness, and celebrate daily. And those four C's allow for everything else to start to take place and build the foundation for what you need in your culture. And so, again, if you're interested in that, would love for you to join me in the master class. But if it's too late when you're hearing this, would love to still support you as you need that.
Yeah. I'm sure hopefully you'll have a replay somewhere that someone
Yeah,
can watch afterwards, so we'll make
for
sure that
sure.
we get the replay linked in there for everybody because
Yep.
it'll come out the week right after. Um, but look, you're doing this. You just mentioned we were talking, just a little bit before, you've got so many exciting things going on. Your hotel group just opened a brand new hotel in Tampa as a hurricane was coming through. So Hurricane Debbie coming through. So it's already a hurricane opening up a hotel, and on top of that, you had some weather that was not participating. But let's talk about that hotel. What is it like for you now opening hotel? Because you're not a GM, but I know like we have those GM tendencies in us. We want to jump in sometimes. So what
For
is it like
sure.
for you in your position now when you're opening a hotel?
Well, it's interesting. That's the first hotel we've opened while I've been in this capacity. And it was absolute blast. I had my hands in a lot of things that I didn't expect to, which was super rewarding. Everything from communication pieces within the rooms that we needed to handle to our opening T-shirt to emceeing our employee rally at the end of a long week of training with Marriott. Doing what I always do, which is throw a whole bunch of confetti and celebrate with the team, but again, everything in between, helping them through training and moving things around and just getting prep for opening. So, yeah, the last week we were in St. Pete. The hotel is a Moxie, which is just, very relatable to me.
Mhm.
Their ideal guest is a fun hunter. So it's just a really fun, hip, up and coming brand. And it's in a location that's just at the beginning stages of really expanding and being exciting. It's across from the Race Stadium, which is also being a new one's being built. So the whole Edge district that it's located in is really starting to come to life, and we're excited to kind of be the first step in the project.
And how big is the hotel? Did you say?
It's 163 rooms. We have a rooftop bar and restaurant called Sparrow coming in the fall. We have a rooftop pool, and then we have Bar Moxie in the lobby that's going to have live music and DJs and some great bites. There's even a podcast room in there, which
Oh,
you'll
there
have to maybe
is?
come and visit. Yeah,
Listen, man, I'm going through the website right now. I think it looks pretty awesome. I gotta make sure you get me invited up there. We could do our own show
yeah,
and
that
just
would be
make
pretty
sure
cool.
people do it the right way. But I'm going through now and looking, and I gotta say that I like this. see if I can present here. We're going off script here, and I want to see if I can share something here. But I really like seeing this image of the hotel, and this is you guys
There we go.
celebrating
Yep.
this win. And I like where you're at, right in the middle, but it just shows you everyone is smiling after opening a hotel here, which I think just goes a long way. Because if you've never opened a hotel, it is really hard. And
Sure
it's
is.
also hard sometimes when you have these group photos to get everyone smiling and to participate, right? It's like I've been in some picture where people are just staring at the camera, looking like they don't want to be there. So I think it
Yes.
was good. What do you remember about this day and this picture?
Honestly, this team was and is so engaged. I came in about halfway through the training that Marriott does to get them branded and prepped to open. And I came in on the tail end where they kind of go from like being talked at to taking action and learning the process themselves. And the team was just so engaged. So leading up to this event and including this event, like every element that I had implemented to keep the team engaged, like fully everybody was fully on board and having fun the entire process. We did a get to know me bingo. We a couple games that were just quick action, fun, minute to win it games. And then, of course, there's the video that I posted, I think, yesterday, where we did anytime we have an event, I try to get the whole team in a corner and say, we are. And they say, Wurzack. We threw confetti and it was just a lot of fun. It was a great way to cap off all the hard work commitment that went into weeks and months and years, for the project to come to this moment and be open now. So just really excited and again rewarding to be part of it.
No, I love it. And again, really hard to get everyone to smile. You wouldn't think that, but sometimes you have some people in the
It
back of the
is.
house that
Easier
just
said than
don't
done.
want to. So I love seeing that everyone was smiling there. That was the first thing I noticed.
Yep.
So you've got this hotel open. You're doing the culture. You're building it up. What is your day like? I know it's different every day, but what's like a typical day for you in your role?
Definitely nothing typical. To kind of go through some of the things that I've been grateful to be a part of. Um, one of the things that we had to build is kind of this step by step process to build our culture from the inside out. And kind of the three phases of that was awareness, education, and activation. So, awareness being that we had to create and define our brand pillars. So I was part of that process, which was
Cool.
super awesome. Uh, then the next phase of that was creating posters, which I designed that got put up in every hotel. Obviously, have a point of reference every single day to understand what are the behaviors we want to see more of, and how do we do that. Next, I was part of building this huddle exercise called Pillars with Purpose plan. Basically outlines specific scenarios in hotel operation that allowed us to live the pillars through those situations, how we solve them for our guests. And those were done in increments each day through huddle as a quick education and awareness piece. And then the last phase, more recently, as I'm sure you've seen, as I've been posting a lot, is the Wurzack Wow program, which is a on-the-spot recognition program that enables our leaders to actively seek the good and celebrate it. As I shared earlier. So if somebody does something great, actively lives out our brand pillars, we give them a card, high five them in celebration, share what caught our eye, and then they put it in the box, and we celebrate every week a Wurzack winner, Wow Winner of the Week. So, again, it went from awareness to education to activation, and then those phases continue to grow. We're doing more with that. We just actually got um, some wristbands with all our pillars on it that we're going to be giving out at our upcoming wellness fairs. So, it's just a constant growth and how do we do better and how do we communicate better. But again, there's other things like newsletters. Right now I'm doing our August newsletter, which will be Moxie heavy and celebrating that group and all the great things they're doing. And, so there's just a lot. There's
I love
implementation.
it.
There's rollouts. It's everything. Again, I think that's why it's been such a great, not only learning curve, but involvement as well. It's been super awesome.
Yeah, and you talked about the brand pillars, and so I just went through something with one of my companies where we brought in the EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, and it's like based off the book Traction. And we had somebody implement it, and I've been in many hotels, and there's core values, and it's like, all right, it's the same thing, like at every hotel. But then we built our own, and
Yeah.
now we're like, all right, yeah, well, I do believe in these, and you know what? We're going to interview to these too. Like, so we started making interview questions based off of those core values of ours and how do you represent some of them? Is that something you are doing, or is that something you would recommend people do as you're going through it?
You know, from a I would say this, what we have been doing, with that in mind to make sure that we actually live it out, uh, is we have basically in every initiative and recognition program or award program built around them. So our culture champions that are done quarterly are based now being on a mission to live our mission. So those nomination sheets are done that way, and it's a peer-to-peer recognition program. So that's one piece. Then the Wurzack WOW program is all about the brand pillars and focusing on that. And every week we remove the cards from the box. So you got to, rent is due every day. So there's no chance for lack of engagement because people have to earn them and the leaders have to stay activated. So uh, I think those two things have really helped, to your point, the words on the wall to become a way of life and in an easy, quick way. It is hard to see immediate impact on a higher based on your pillars and values. That's going to take a long time to have an impact on the culture at the greater scale. So by having our initiatives built around that, that's where actions, really start to speak, and you start to see that impact, and that's where Glassdoor and TripAdvisor are immediately impacted for sure.
I love that. And so we're seeing a lot now, like a lot of hotels still struggling to hire people, right? I know you're not directly responsible for recruiting, but
But I
what
am
is,
involved. You're right. Yeah.
yeah. So how do you find people, right? You just opened a hotel, right? And just opening a hotel and finding the right people and hopefully they will stay. How do you do that now? Because there's a lot of hotels trying different things. Is there anything
Sure.
unique that you think maybe stands out that you all are doing?
Well, the beauty of opening a hotel that looks as good as that, people come in droves, man. They just want to be part of it. And again, I think the work we've done from a culture capacity has really helped increase that interest. But usually when you open a hotel, that's a little bit easier. But what I would say from a recruiting standpoint, I usually focus on the leaders, not necessarily line level, but focus on higher level leaders in the recruiting process for me. And one of the things that we've adjusted is making sure that the job postings speak to the reader, not the needer. And what I mean by that is this: when I, in my past needed a job, I was looking for very specific things I wanted in my next company. I didn't want to know that it was a 24-hour business. I didn't want to know that I was going to have to cover desk shifts. I didn't want to know. I already knew that. I knew I could do that. What I wanted to know are what are your beliefs? What are you doing to help the community? What are you living out every day? And is it real or is it just words on the wall? So we've really focused on making sure that the beginning portion of our job postings focus on what the reader wants versus what the needer wants, meaning the operator. Because we obviously, this, we need people and we need to fill it fast. So a lot of times we put all the things that we want to make sure we get from people first.
Mhm.
And that actually deters people from wanting to be part of it because they're saying, oh, well, they're going to micromanage or they're going to make me work more hours than I want, or they're not going to give me the balance I want or whatever. And that's what you're saying or not saying in the first two paragraphs. So again, we basically flipped our job postings to share who we're becoming, how they can be a part of it, and all the benefits and impact they can have by joining our team.
Yeah, that's great. And I've been really diving into hotels that are doing unique things to keep people, and maybe this is something more helpful to you to see too. The Ritz-Carlton Amelia Island just started doing like 3-week or 3-day weeks, 4-day weeks, and 5-day weeks. So I heard about that from FAU, from Peter Ricci, who's the director of FAU
Yeah.
Hospitality Program, which I thought was pretty cool because, maybe I only want to work 3 days, but it's 10-hour a day and I go through. And then the Standard Hotel at Miami Beach, I was talking with them, with the GM and the HR director, and they shocked me. I was like shocked with what they have as benefits. Like the team members can use the pool any day of the week. They can have up to 2 drinks at the pool deck. They can use the gym. They can go to all the wellness activations. So, like if they're at the front desk, they know about it, and so they have no openings and very little turnover because the
That's
team is very dedicated. I was scared. I was talking with HR director. I was like, "Are you sure? Like, are you okay?" She's like, "Yeah, we have not had an issue." They also get to choose if they hit certain goals, the leaders, if they are going to be on 4-day work weeks or 5-day work weeks, if their house is in order, right? So it
totally.
was interesting to see.
Yeah,
No
it's great.
kidding.
It's great insight. Yeah, that it's working for them. You know, obviously you
You
saw my
saw your
face.
face. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, some of those are questionable. I don't know that I would agree to those,
Yeah.
but yeah, you know, you have to be creative in the thing. It's like, I think, you know, this concept that people don't want to work anymore is not true. It's just they know what they want. And you have to figure out what that is in the greatest scalable way possible and improve the way you do things to
Yeah.
get that.
There's a lot more options than when you and I started. That's what I was talking on a panel the other day was,
Yeah.
if you're good at it, you can make $50,000 online talking about stuff you like, and you can create programs and sell things and make ad revenue. That wasn't an option for a front desk agent back in the day. So you're gonna tell me I'm gonna stand and make 17 bucks an hour and get yelled at and not have my weekends and holidays off? Or I could do
Right.
this? So there's a lot more options out there. And so I think anything to make it more fun and to believe in what you're doing, like what you're doing now and creating a culture you want to be a part of is
Yeah.
makes a huge difference. So that's why I was excited to have you on again to talk about those things.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Appreciate it.
before we hop into the book, because selfishly and listeners, maybe one of you out there wants to write a book. I want to just ask a couple of questions on it. But for you, is there anything that you're most proud of right now, or anything that you're most excited about in the next 12 months, 14 months? I know you just opened up a hotel, and I hate saying 5 years, but like in the next 12 to 14 months that you're working on.
You know, I think one of the things that's unique to my story, and I briefly touched on it earlier, is uh, you know, and everybody has their own version of this. Life will hit you right in the mouth when you're least expecting it, and I think I'm just proud of kind of clawing back after some adversity to get to this point. You know, there's a lot of people in the world that visualize and hope for their dream job, and I'm actively living it right now. So I don't take it for granted. I'm super grateful, and it's important to stay grateful through that process. You know, I'm definitely looking to continue to expand my speaking and impact to help other companies do the same thing and give them actionable strategies to improve their culture. Like I said, I'm doing that master class. I hope to do a couple free ones of that, maybe start some coaching. So, you know, definitely trying to take things to the next level. And, but again, I'm very, very involved in the growth of our culture and company right now at Wurzack. And it's just something that a lot of people don't get asked to be involved in. Uh, and again, it's been pretty awesome to know that, you know, if and when I ever move on, I absolutely have made a lasting impression there.
I love it. And so you mentioned that you're working on master classes, you're posting a lot on social. I worked for a company that would the head of marketing would call me and say, "Take that post down," right? Like it's not approved. So it seems like you're working at a place that allows you to kind of venture in this world a little bit more than others. Is that something you had to have conversations about or was known before you kind of took on the role? Because I know there's a lot of people who want to share more, but maybe just need that conversation to be able to do more.
Yeah, I think, you know, anybody that's afraid to, I think just do it. You know, part of the conversation that initiated this job in the first place was that I'm doing this for other companies now. Why don't I just do it for you? You know, like there's no reason to keep it separate if I'm already speaking at companies and doing all these things. Like I don't need to do that. I could just do it here, you know? And so I think because that was where it started, it's hard to say that it's gonna hurt anything. It's only going to benefit all of us. And you know, again, when you're able to make a company bigger and more exciting and have people build interest, it's only going to help support you and your endeavors and growth in your career and beyond. So, yeah, anybody afraid, just push forward, share your ideas, help others, add value anywhere you can, and things will come your way.
I like it. So, all right, back to the book. Confetti Culture. You sent this to me 2 years ago, and that's
Yep.
how I went through it, read it, and I got motivated to start writing my own, and I kind of put it off. I got my first draft done of a book that I want to put out this year by November is the goal.
So excited.
So I'm excited, but is there something for you? You wrote this, right? We talked about you writing this book in the past that was unexpected after you put it out. Cause sometimes you're just in your office, you're on the computer typing it out. You don't know what's going to happen once you put it out to the world. Was there anything
Yeah.
unexpected that happened since you put it out there?
You know, I think truthfully, it's allowed me to leverage to be in the role I'm in, to take on speaking gigs, to do all the things that I do now, is living out my, you know, dream role and job. So, you know, I think a lot of times with anything in life, we get in our own way, right? We think that people don't want to hear it. We think that we can't do it, that we don't have the resources, the time. That there's always another thing that could be standing in our way, but truthfully, the only thing that is standing in our way is ourselves. And so, I encourage anybody that's listening. Obviously, you've already gotten started; you're deep into it. Anyone that's listening, just get started. And the best way to do so is to create an outline. One of the things I failed on when I started was trying to like write it from start to finish, and it's not possible. But if you say, I want to focus on these 10 items and these 3 items within those 10, then you just focus on those bite-sized things and build around it. And that's where phase one of my first book to phase two, that ultimately is the one in your hand. That's how it went to be. I tried way too hard to do it all at once and then broke it out to be much more digestible and doable.
Once you got it typed out, right? Now this is selfishly for me, listeners, and you can come along on this journey or you can turn it off, but you're going to listen to us brainstorm here. You got the book done. Do you go and find someone to publish it? Or are you on Fiverr finding someone to edit it for you and make your cover? Or are you designing your own cover? What are some of those next steps to get it out there into the world?
So maybe a gift and a curse for me, but I like to do everything myself. If I don't know how to do it, I'm going to teach myself. So I definitely looked into all that for my process. I've talked to other colleagues, uh, Charles Ryan Bolton, Christine Trippy, like kind of asked them like, what did you guys do? Uh, and and other people as well. And a lot of the things that I found was that you're going to spend a lot of money on inventory and things like that when you go through a company to do it. And you're going to pay PR and all these different levels of things. It's a lot of out of pocket money that will allow it to take off in a way it wouldn't otherwise. But you're paying for that whether it gets purchased or not. And so for me, as someone that didn't necessarily have the community and the interest yet, I built that as I put out the book. I had to then make that decision to go independent. But again, for me, I was able to control everything thereafter. So that allowed me to really positively impact what direction I went, in what time, and also helped as I faced what I did soon after to be able to stop and handle my health stuff first. And again, if I did it the other way, I could have been in some deep stuff because I would have been supposedly on a book tour somewhere that I wouldn't have been able to stop. So, again, I think everything happens for a reason. I think my way is not the way everyone should do it. But nowadays, the accessibility to things like Amazon publishing and things like
Yep.
that, like you can do it on your own. The key is you just have to keep going because no one's going to be doing it for you. No one's going to give you the timeline. No one's going to give you the schedule, actions. You have to do that. So there's a lot more work involved, but again, that part is rewarding to me, and that's why I want that direction.
Yeah. I think that's where I'm heading is Amazon publishing. And I think my game plan is I've got it to a point where I like it. I'm gonna have someone create my cover and look because I just realized, oh man, I'm not getting what I want. Maybe somebody will help me with this.
Oh, yeah.
And I've talked to now you and a couple others who've written their books and done different things. And I think I've found what I'm gonna do. So that helps me really kind of just it's true. Like you just gotta start. I remember I was just sitting there and I thought about you. I had your book next to me. I had Sarah Dandashi, who I do the show with. I had
Yeah.
Kate. I had a bunch of other people's books around me that everyone's written. I was like, It's already done. Let me just start typing, move those fingers.
Right.
And now there's so many tools to help kind of get it there. But I'm excited to share it with you because mine's a little bit different. I've talked to you. You're actually going to have a chapter in it. So I'm going to let some people in on it. I've talked to so many people on this podcast. I've shared such good stories and advice that I'm going to distill each chapter as a different person with their advice and a bunch of other things I'll keep secret for now that you share. And really, how to get there. And so everyone shares that and putting
Yeah.
it all together into a big story. So it'll be
Yeah. That's
fun.
gonna be yeah. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah,
I'm
it'll be fun
super
to see it
excited.
come to life. So anyhow, look, man, I could talk to you forever. And I know how busy you are. But I love seeing all the things that you have going on and how you're building this confetti culture that's spreading not just across your hotels, but other hotels. I still get that picture up on the screen of all the smiling faces. So congratulations on that. Is there any last thing you want to share? Is there anything that you want to, I'm just gonna roll out the red carpet for you? Anything you want to share with everybody that's listening and watching?
Well, I would just say if you're, actively looking for a speaker that's going to help support increasing your engagement and decreasing some of that costly turnover, would love to come speak with your team. And then, reiterating the quote I shared earlier, what you do speaks so loudly that I can't hear what you said. So don't tell me that you want to improve your culture, show me.
I love that. You see, this is why you got to hire James to speak at at your company outings. So, James, if somebody wants to do that, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, hit the website. There's a lot of tools and resources on there. Obviously, you can get my book, but yeah, go to the confetticultureplaybook.com and connect with me there. Would love to chat about what you're looking to do.
Love it. Well, James, the first two timer on the show, we might have to
Sir,
get like jackets for people like they do on Saturday Night Live. It's the five timer
there we
show,
go.
but we'll
Yeah.
get there. Well, James, thank you once again.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you.